Hello, I'm Michael, and in today's video we're going to focus on a very interesting photo and post-processing technique which is called time blending. I think I showed a few tips on this in the past already, but this evening I want to do a dedicated tutorial which is very quick. So I'm now here at a scene in France where I photograph now just around sunset with a beautiful sky, so to take a few photos actually. And I really like that sky, but what's missing are the city lights, and I also hope that the church in the background is gonna catch some light. So what I'm gonna do now, just leave the camera in place a little longer, maybe 20 minutes, and we'll then take photos during blue hour with the city lights actually lit up. And there's also a concert in the back, so hope you're not too distracted. Anyways, I then have those two photos, so the photos of this beautiful magenta sky and then with the blue sky but the city lights on. And in the next step I'm going to show you how I can combine those two. So let's head over to the office and see what I'm gonna get. Okay, we're now here in Photoshop and I've already loaded 3 images that were taken over the course of half an hour that evening. So here's the photo which I shot while I was recording the video in the field, and it shows a beautiful sky with some magenta. And this is already the version which I processed in Lightroom. Then maybe 15 minutes later, I have another shot where you see a few more lights on in the city. So here, for example, we just have a few, and I wanted a bit more interest here in the city because currently the sky is quite beautiful, colorful. Here the foreground is contrasty with some warm light on the bridge, which I like, but the city itself, it's not showing too much interest. So I waited and took this photo, and you see a few more lights are already on, but it's still not enough. So I waited a bit longer, and now we have this photo here where the sky is obviously much too bright. Also, it has a light bluish color cast up here, but I'm not too bothered by that. I just want to focus on this area here where I have beautiful light in the city. And what I now want to show you is how I can blend all those 3. So first of all, in Lightroom, what I did, I processed all those photos, so the city area where I want to do the blending has roughly the same brightness. The only difference in the brightness, or most of the difference, lies in the areas where the light sources are located. So while most of the buildings between those 2 photos are quite similar in terms of brightness, you have those highlight areas where this image is much brighter than what we have here. And this image even more so. Also this area here, the buildings, is much brighter than what we have here, where it's pretty dark and has a bluish tint. So in order to combine all the 3, the first thing you usually have to do, even though you're on a tripod, you can get some shifts in the composition and the alignment. So you would select all of them, and I've already done so. I still want to show you. You go to Edit, Auto Align Layers, and here you leave this at auto, those 2 deselected, and press OK. This makes sure that any shifts you have in the composition are compensated, and the images, if I now zoom in here, align exactly. So that's very important. So the key to blending those 3 images now lies in the blend modes here. What I now do is I'll activate this lights 1 and set the blend mode here to lighten. And what this does, it will only show areas of this lights 1 layer that are brighter than what we have beneath in the base layer. So you see many areas will be maintained from the base layer, and then especially the bright areas here around the light sources will be blended in via this blend mode from the lights 1 layer, and can do the same here for the lights 2. Now if I would leave it at that, it wouldn't look so nice, because now sky is blown out. I have some very intense light sources down here, and also here in those bushes I get some blending which I don't like. So in addition to setting the blend mode to lighten, what I also want to do is I mask this in selectively. So I create a black mask by holding down Alt and clicking here on the mask icon. And I do this for both the lights 1 and the lights 2. And now with a white brush, like 50% opacity, I start drawing in the light sources. And I can be very selective here. So just here in the area of the city, I will not draw down here. Also, I don't want those lights here on this bridge because especially back here, these bluish colors don't look very nice. So I just want to focus the viewer a bit more on the city itself. So this is where I want to draw in with a white brush the light sources. And I just do this. I can also shift click on the mask to completely reveal it to see where the light sources are, what I need, and then again paint in. See, especially if we see the before and after, this area down here gets much more focus, much more interest now because it's brightened up. And now if we do the same here with the lights too, I won't go 100%, not even 50%, because this will blow out some of the light sources, but with like 30%, I paint in some of the interest, some of the light down here in the buildings. So this warmish light. Also up here, emphasize those light sources a bit. With this here I have to be careful because this gets blown out, and also it's already pretty bright close to the frame edge here. So I don't want to draw the viewer too much out of the frame, so I'll leave it at that. Just focus on those lights. Also here there's some reflected light, if you see on those city lights. Also some light streaks here on the bridge from the long exposure. Looks quite interesting, so I paint this in. But you can see now in which direction I'm going here and how this time blending step can be done. I'll now finish this up and then show you an additional trick which you can use to further increase this glow of light in the city. So I finished the blending and we came from this here, the original base image, to the blended image. And you see there's much more interest now in this central area here in the city. I didn't blend in any of the lights on the bridge because I think the warm side light already puts enough weight on this bridge. And if I put in the lights, especially the blue ones, that's much too distracting. So I rather use the evening light here in the foreground than the evening light here in the sky, together with the lights of the city in the center. And by this, I think I get a more balanced image with much more interest. Now for the final tip, I want to show you how to add even more glow. So basically get to this result. So we have even more lights in the city. For this, I just duplicate the blended image. I go to filters, camera raw filter, and there's many ways to do this. You could also use dodge and burn, but I like to prepare what I want to do with the lights here in camera raw. And I usually start by adding a bit of exposure, so making it a touch brighter, then using the dehaze, pulling it to the left. So this gets those areas a bit more dreamy. I can also add a touch contrast, but not too much. Maybe some clarity. Bring down the dehaze a bit. Let's zoom out. Obviously now the complete image got too soft, too bright, but we'll later mask this in. I also want to make it a bit warmer. So add like +8, add a bit of magenta to it. So let's have a look before and after, and I can go even brighter if I want. Something like this. Add more vibrance, some saturation as well. So before and after. Now I press OK, and by holding down Alt, clicking on this mask icon here, I blend out what I just did. So this is the glow over the complete frame, but I just want to mask it in now with a white brush and like 50% in certain areas. So this way I can put more focus on some areas here in the city, and I can go even with like just 20%. So make this even more interesting for the viewer. And again, I can refrain from adding too much light here on the outer side and rather focus on those areas here in the middle. Also up here, I can add a bit light, and this creates a nice soft glow for those areas and puts more emphasis on the city. So see the before and the after. And we came now from this base image, which I shot just after sunset, processed it in Lightroom. It's a single exposure, by the way, so I was using filters. Then we blended in some lights by using the time blending technique with the light and blend mode to get us to this result. And finally, we added some soft glow by using camera raw and then selectively masking it in the areas where we wanted to add some interest. Now that's a good base. What I now do, I just do some contrast and some dodge and burn adjustments here to the image to further guide the viewer. But about the time blending, that's the technique I wanted to show you. Works perfectly on architecture images. Just make sure you use a sturdy tripod, don't have movement between the images, and then just let your creativity flow when combining those images. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more. See you in the next video. Bye.